I believed healthy relationships required sacrifice. What I didn't see was how often I was shrinking myself until one moment made everything uncomfortable clear. You ever catch yourself agreeing to something and then, hours later, wonder why the hell you said yes? That was me, standing in line at some outdoor wine tasting event in late August heat, wearing shoes that pinched and a polo I did not even like. I hate wine. I always have. But Rachel loved it. So I told myself I could learn to love it too. That was the first time I remember shrinking, even if it felt harmless back then. Just a tiny adjustment. A small compromise. That was the word I used, compromise. Made me feel mature. Rachel had been talking about this event all week. Her friends were going. Her coworkers were going. She wanted me there so we could show face. I remember nodding, smiling, thinking this was what good boyfriends did. Support. Blend in. Be flexible. The truth? I wanted to spend that weekend on the lake. I had just finished a brutal month at work, and all I could think about was throwing a line in the water, shutting the world out for a bit. I even brought it up once, casually. She wrinkled her nose and laughed like I had suggested eating cold beans from a can in the woods. So I gave it up. Told her the wine tasting sounded fun. I even let her dress me. More or less, said the green polo brought out my eyes. I remember looking in the mirror and barely recognizing the guy staring back. But I smiled anyway. Told myself this was growth. Told myself, this is what healthy relationships require. And you know what? That first time, it did not even feel like a loss. That is the scary part. It felt like love. We laughed a lot that day. I pretended to like whatever blend she handed me. Nodded through conversations about flavor notes and grape varieties like I was not dying to just crack open a beer and watch the sunset. I made it work. That became my thing in that relationship. I made things work. We dated for 11 months. Nothing dramatic ever happened. No big blowout. No betrayal. Nothing like that. We just slowly wore down to nothing. When she ended it, she used words like drifted and different paths. I nodded. I always nodded. I did not realize it yet, but a pattern had already started to form. A slow erosion. And Rachel? She was just the first wave. I moved on. I always moved on. Then came Laura. And this time, the shrinking felt different. But I will get to that. Because first, there was something she said at dinner one night that made my stomach drop. Laura was easy to fall for. That is how it felt, anyway. Everything about her had this quiet confidence. She worked in nonprofit law, read thick books without blinking, and could hold eye contact longer than I was used to. She made me feel a little sharper just by being around her. Our first few weeks together felt like a reset. She asked thoughtful questions, listened carefully, and gave compliments that hit a little deeper than just nice shirt or you're sweet. She told me she liked my voice, said it calmed her down. That one stuck with me. But the moment I started adjusting myself again, it happened so fast, I almost missed it. We were eating at this Thai place she loved. She ordered extra spicy. I was more of a mild guy, always had been. But I smiled and said, same for me. Took one bite and felt my tongue catch fire, but I powered through it, trying not to cough. She looked impressed. Said, I like that you're adventurous. I smiled through the sweat and burning, even as my stomach twisted in knots later that night. That was the first shift. Then came the apartment. She hated clutter, called it visual noise. I moved in after 8 months of dating, and one by one, my things started to disappear. My vintage movie posters? Rolled up and stored in the back of the closet. My old recliner? Too bulky. The bookshelf I had built in college? Does not match the aesthetic. And every time I gave something up, I told myself it was worth it. Relationships are about compromise, I kept thinking. You do not get everything you want. But it was never both of us compromising. It was just me. Every time. She never asked me to throw anything out. That is the thing. It was always subtle. A raised eyebrow. A quiet pause. A well-placed compliment about how clean the space feels now. So I adjusted. Again. And again. Until the place barely looked like I lived there. The worst part? I kept telling myself this was what maturity looked like. That not needing to win every little battle was a sign of love. That maybe this is what healthy men did. They adapted. They made space. But one night, about 3 months into living together, we were lying in bed, and she was telling me about a promotion she was gunning for. She asked what I saw myself doing in 5 years. And I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. I had no answer. Not because I lacked ambition, but because I had not thought about my path in a while. Everything had been about her schedule, her causes, her needs. I had quieted mine so much I could not even hear them anymore. And that night, as she drifted off to sleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling, hearing only one thing echo in my head. When did you stop asking for anything? I rolled over and pulled the blanket up around my shoulders. That was when I saw it. On the edge of her nightstand, half buried under a stack of books. A small, handwritten note. I should have left it alone. But I didn't. I stared at that little corner of paper like it might vanish if I blinked too long. It was barely sticking out from beneath a dog-eared copy of The Second Sex. The handwriting was neat. Looping. Not mine. I told myself not to look. Told myself that privacy mattered, that trust was sacred. But there is something about silence, when it builds up long enough, that makes you start searching for confirmation you still exist in someone's world. I slid it out gently. It was folded in half, the words written in black ink on thick cream-colored stationery. Simple, deliberate. Not a grocery list, not a reminder. Just a few lines. You deserve someone who challenges you. Someone who never shrinks to make you comfortable. Someone who speaks up. Someone like you. My name was not on it. Neither was hers. I read it 3 times before I carefully slid it back where I found it. I did not sleep that night. Just laid there, staring into the dark, trying to decide what the hell that note meant. And worse, who it was meant for. Was it something she wrote to herself? A kind of affirmation? Or was it something someone else had written to her? And if it was, why did it cut so close to the bone? I kept hearing that line on repeat. Someone who never shrinks to make you comfortable. It was like a mirror held up to everything I had become. The next morning, I got up early, made coffee, watered her plants, folded a blanket she had left tossed over the couch. She walked out of the bedroom in her robe, smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "You're always so good to me." And for a second, I felt proud. Then I remembered the note, and all I felt was hollow. We never talked about it. I never brought it up. But something changed after that. Not between us, in me. I started noticing all the other small ways I had bent myself over time. How I avoided disagreeing with her on politics, even when something felt off. How I stopped playing guitar because she said it gave her a headache. How I laughed less around her friends because she once told me my sense of humor was a bit much. It was like every piece of me had been sanded down smooth so I would not scratch anyone. And suddenly, I could feel the cost of it. A kind of fatigue that lived behind my ribs. Not tired like I needed sleep. Tired like I needed permission to exist again. I wanted to talk to her. To say something. But that week she got the promotion. The one she had been working toward for months. The celebration dinner. The new schedule. Everything got busy. So I pushed it down. Again. Until the night I found the second note. This time, it had a name on it. And it was not mine. I found the second note by accident, which somehow made it worse. I was not snooping. I was doing laundry. Folding her work clothes the way she liked them, sleeves tucked and clean, edges aligned. I opened the drawer where she kept scarves and belts, looking for an empty hanger, and there it was, tucked inside a folded gray scarf like it had been hidden in a hurry. Same paper, same handwriting. This one was longer. I did not read it right away. I just stood there, holding it between my fingers, feeling my pulse thump in my ears. The room felt smaller. Quieter, like it was waiting for me to make a choice. When I unfolded it, my chest tightened. It was addressed to Mark, not me. It talked about growth, about momentum, about how some people expand you while others slowly disappear into the background. There was nothing explicit, no promises, no confessions, just admiration, encouragement, and a line near the end that landed like a weight. I never feel like I have to dim myself around you. I folded the note back up and put it exactly where I found it. Then I sat down on the bed and stared at my hands. What surprised me was not the jealousy. It was the clarity. Because as much as that note hurt, it also explained something I had been pretending not to see. Laura was not pulling away because I was doing something wrong. She was pulling away because I was doing nothing at all. I had turned myself into a soft background hum. Pleasant, inoffensive, easy to ignore. And worse than that, I had helped her do it. That night, we ate dinner together like normal. She talked about work. I nodded, asked supportive questions, listened, the same way I always did. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, told me she appreciated how steady I was. Steady. That word followed me into sleep. I dreamed I was shrinking, literally, standing in a room that kept getting bigger while I stayed the same. until the furniture towered over me and voices echoed from far away. I tried to speak, but my voice came out thin, almost polite. I woke up with my jaw clenched. A week later, she told me she thought we needed space. She framed it gently, said she felt like she was growing faster than the relationship, said she needed room to think. She thanked me for being understanding. And of course I was. I moved out without a fight, packed my boxes neatly, left the apartment cleaner than I found it, hugged her goodbye like I was congratulating her. In the car, with everything I owned stacked behind me, I felt something I had not felt in years. Anger. Not at her. At myself. Because this was not the first time. Rachel. Laura. Before them, there had been others. Different names, same pattern. Different apartments, same disappearing act. And suddenly, I could see it clearly. I was not unlucky in love. I was practiced at becoming smaller. And once I saw it, I could not unsee it. What I did next would change everything. But it started with a phone call I almost did not answer. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. I was sitting in the parking lot outside a sandwich shop, half listening to the radio, halfway through a turkey melt I could barely taste. The number was local but not saved in my contacts. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something made me answer. Hello? There was a pause. Then a soft voice said, "Hey, it's Aaron." I felt my stomach drop. Aaron. We had dated nearly 4 years ago, long before Rachel or Laura. Back before I even understood what a healthy relationship was supposed to feel like. We had not spoken since the day she left, bags in her trunk, sunglasses hiding her tears, saying something about needing to figure herself out. I had buried that chapter. Or thought I had. "I know this is out of nowhere," she said, "but do you have a minute?" I sat there, sandwich forgotten in my lap. "Yeah," I said. "Sure." She told me she was moving back into town. Said she had been thinking about reaching out for a while, but did not know if it would be welcome. Said she was sorry for how she left things. "I was selfish," she admitted. "I think I just panicked. You were so kind, so steady, and I felt like I couldn't breathe." That word again. Steady. I almost laughed. She kept talking, trying to explain, but I was not really listening. My mind had already started spiraling through old memories. Me walking her dog while she slept in, canceling my band rehearsal to go to her cousin's baby shower, watching her favorite shows even though I hated them, telling myself all the while, this is love. And now here she was, telling me the same thing Laura had just told me. The same thing Rachel never said out loud, but always made me feel. That I was nice. That I was easy. That I made life comfortable. Until comfort became invisible. Aaron's voice cracked a little. "I guess I just wanted to know if you'd maybe want to meet up sometime. Catch up. No pressure." I said I would think about it. Then I hung up. And for a full 5 minutes, I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at nothing. That was the moment I realized I had always chosen women who wanted a blank page they could write on. And I had volunteered to be that page. Again and again, but not anymore. Later that night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and said it out loud, just to hear the words. "I am done shrinking." It felt weird. Stiff. Like trying on a jacket that did not quite fit yet. But I said it again. Louder. And that night, I did something I had never done before. I wrote a list of everything I had given up in my past relationships. Not just things, but pieces of myself. I filled an entire page. And at the bottom, I wrote one last line. "Next time, I stay full size." The next day, I got a text from Aaron. It just said, "Still thinking about you. Maybe we could talk this weekend?" I stared at it for a long time. And then, I said no. But what happened right after that? That caught me completely off guard. I had barely put my phone down after texting Aaron back when it buzzed again. New message. Different name. "Hey, it's Rachel." I stared at the screen, blinking like maybe I had imagined it. It had been over a year since we spoke. We ended things quietly. No drama, no big finale. She just said she was not feeling it anymore, and I had nodded like I always did. There was a second message right after the first. "I saw your name on LinkedIn. You're doing great. Congrats on the promotion." I did not even know we were still connected. It hit me then. This was not about the job. This was about timing. Aaron reached out. Now Rachel. Something about me pulling away must have triggered something in the universe. Or maybe I had just finally stopped orbiting them, and they felt the shift. I typed out a quick thanks. Just to be polite. I should have left it there. But I didn't. She replied instantly. Asked if I had time to catch up over coffee. Said she was in town for a conference. Said she had been thinking about me. I stared at her words, and a weird thought popped into my head. How many women have thought about me, only after they had already shrunk me down to fit inside their world? I did not answer right away. I went for a walk instead. It was cold out. Sharp air that made your lungs burn a little. The kind of weather that wakes you up. As I walked, I thought about the version of me Rachel had known. The agreeable version. The one who drank wine and laughed at jokes I did not find funny. The one who postponed his own weekend plans because she needed a +1 at a networking thing. She had once called me a safe place. At the time, it felt like a compliment. Now it just sounded like code for easy to leave. I did not hate her. I did not even feel angry. But I felt something new, distance. Not just physical, but emotional. Like she belonged to a chapter one had finished reading. I stopped by the lake near my old apartment. The same one I had wanted to go to that weekend. She dragged me to that wine tasting. I stood there, watching the frozen water, remembering how I used to let people rearrange me to keep the peace. And I thought, what if I just stopped doing that? What if I showed up exactly as I was, and let the people who could not handle it fall away? Back at home, I sat down and opened Rachel's message again. This time, I answered honestly. I appreciate you reaching out, but I am not interested in revisiting the past. I am working on showing up as myself now. Fully. I hit send. No hesitation. No shrinking. Then I turned off my phone. That night, I opened my guitar case for the first time in almost 2 years. The strings were out of tune. My fingers were rusty. But the sound that came out? It was mine. For the first time in a long time. So was the silence that followed. What I did not expect, what I could not have seen coming, was the knock at my door 3 days later. And who was standing on the other side? It was early evening when I heard the knock. One of those soft, tentative ones, 3 short taps, then silence. I figured it was a delivery, or maybe a neighbor needing something. I opened the door, and there she was. Laura. Not on a screen. Not through a text. In person. She looked different somehow. Her hair was longer, pulled into a low knot. No makeup. No lawyer polish shine. Just a gray hoodie, jeans, and this look in her eyes that was hard to read. Somewhere between nervous and determined. Can I come in? She asked. I hesitated. My hand tightened around the edge of the door. Then I stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table, mugs between us. I had not offered tea, but she made it anyway. Still remembered where I kept the kettle. For a few minutes, neither of us said much. The kind of quiet where the air feels full. Tense. Like something heavy is about to fall. Finally, she broke it. I owe you the truth, she said. I stayed quiet. She looked down, rubbed her palms together. About Mark. There it was. I figured, I said. It wasn't an affair, she said quickly. Nothing physical. I swear. But I let it go too far. The notes. The long talks at work. I let myself feel seen in a way that made everything else look dim. She paused. I thought I had outgrown you. That you were too soft. Too quiet. But the truth is, I had just never seen someone love me without trying to overpower me. And I did not know what to do with that. Her voice cracked then. Just slightly. I confused your calm with weakness. But it wasn't weakness, was it? I met her eyes. And for once, I did not look away. No, I said. It was me trying to be small enough to fit inside your life. She flinched like the words stung. I'm sorry, she whispered. I believed her. I really did. There was no performance in her voice. No deflection. Just the sound of someone realizing they had finally run out of excuses. I've been in therapy, she added. Trying to unpack all the ways I've made people shrink to make room for my own mess. That part caught me off guard. And for a split second, I felt the old urge creep in. The part of me that wanted to reach across the table, say it was okay, make her feel better. But I stopped myself. Because it was not okay. It was just honest. I'm not angry, I said. But I'm also not the same. She nodded slowly. I can see that, she said. You take up more space now. It's good. We sat there a little longer. Eventually, she stood up to leave. At the door, she turned to face me. I do not expect anything from you. I just needed to say it out loud. What I did, and what you didn't deserve. I nodded once. She walked away. And just like that, the ghost of who I had been with her finally followed her out. But I was not done yet. Because the biggest realization was still waiting for me. In a conversation I had avoided for years. And it started with a message from someone I had not spoken to since I was 17. The message came late, nearly midnight. It was from my father. Or rather, the man who used to be my father. I had not heard from him in over a decade. Not since he packed up a suitcase, told my mom, "This just isn't working," and disappeared into another life with another woman in another state. The message was short, dry. "I'm in town for a few days. Would be good to catch up. I know I missed a lot." I stared at it for a long time. That familiar tightening in my chest came back, the one I used to feel when I was 12 and he bailed on weekends, claiming work got in the way. I almost deleted it. But then I thought about the list I had written, all the ways I had minimized myself, all the spaces I had tried to fit into, instead of just being me. And I thought, maybe this is where it started. Not with Rachel or Laura or Aaron, but with him. So I replied, "Coffee. Tomorrow. 1 hour." We met at this quiet cafe near the edge of town. He looked older, obviously. More gray. A little stooped in the shoulders. But the same eyes. Same half-smile like he already knew the ending to whatever story you were about to tell. He started talking first. Small stuff. Work. Weather. Said he had seen my name on a company website and was proud. Proud. That word landed weird. Like it was trying to make up for everything else. Eventually, I cut through it. "You ever wonder why I stopped reaching out?" He leaned back, folded his arms. "I figured you were busy." "No," I said. "You figured I gave up. Like I always did when you changed plans. When you forgot birthdays. When you said you'd call and didn't. You expected me to just stay small and polite." He looked caught off guard. Like no one had ever put it that plainly before. I kept going. I spent my whole life trying not to upset people. Trying not to need too much. Because somewhere along the way, I learned that having needs meant getting left behind. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closed it. And for once, I did not fill the silence for him. I let it hang there. Heavy. True. Finally, he nodded. "I wasn't there for you," he said. "Not really. I always told myself you were strong. Independent. Easy." That word again. Easy. But now I see maybe that's just what I wanted to believe. So I didn't have to feel guilty. I exhaled slow. It did not fix anything. But it named something. And that mattered. We talked for maybe another 20 minutes. Civil, quiet. He asked if I wanted to stay in touch. I told him maybe, depending on whether he showed up next time. He smiled like he got the message. When I left that cafe, something in me felt looser. Like I had taken off a jacket I did not even realize I had been wearing since I was a kid. But the biggest change? It came a week later, when I met someone new. And this time, I refused to shrink. Her name was Harper. We met at a mutual friend's birthday thing. One of those chaotic backyard setups with paper lanterns, uneven folding chairs, and someone's playlist skipping every third song. She was standing by the grill, sipping a soda and laughing at something no one else had caught. Something about her didn't ask for attention. She just had it. We started talking. Easy stuff at first. Work, music, how she hated pineapple on pizza. Then it veered into books we never finished and childhood fears that never really went away. I felt relaxed. But not in the old way, where I dulled myself to keep things smooth. This was different. I felt present. At the end of the night, she asked if I wanted to go on a walk. I said yes without checking myself first. No inner edit. Just yes. We started seeing each other after that. Slowly. Intentionally. No rushing. About 3 weeks in, we were out getting ramen and she asked me what I wanted to do long term. Not what I was doing. What I wanted. And without flinching, I said I wanted to finish the album I had been writing for years. The one I had put down the moment Laura said it sounded like college dreams. I watched Harper's face closely, waiting for that subtle shift. That wince or hum or polite nod that told me I had said too much. But she smiled. "Then finish it," she said. "I want to hear it." No resistance. No suggestion to be realistic. Just support. Quiet and sincere. That night, I went home and pulled out my old notebooks. Dusted off a keyboard, and started writing again. But a few days later, something happened. Something small, but familiar. We were talking about weekend plans, and she mentioned wanting to see a film I honestly had zero interest in. I caught myself saying, "Sure, I'd love that," before I even thought about it. That reflex. That old muscle memory of molding myself. It hit me like a wave. But instead of letting it pass, I stopped. Actually stopped. "I'll be honest," I said. "That movie sounds like torture. But if you really want to go, I'll come. Just know I'll be whining the whole time." She laughed. "Fair enough. I can take one of my friends." And that was it. No guilt trip. No tension. She liked that I was honest. Later, she texted me something I'll never forget. "You don't need to shapeshift for me. I like who you are." I read it twice. Then again. And it sank in. I was still learning how to take up space, how to speak up without fearing the echo that followed. But for the first time in my life, I was not afraid I would be left behind for being whole. Still, one last moment was waiting. A final decision. And it would come the next time I heard Rachel's voice, one more time. It happened on a Wednesday. I was walking home from a late session at the studio, arms full of gear, mind buzzing with lyrics, when my phone rang. I almost ignored it. But then I saw the name. Rachel. Again. I let it ring twice. Then 3 times. Then, for reasons I cannot fully explain, I answered. Her voice was quiet. Cautious. Hey, she said. I hope this isn't weird. It is, I said, but go on. She laughed softly. Same laugh I used to bend myself toward. I just wanted to say I've been thinking about you. A lot, she said. About us. I don't know if you felt it too, but I kind of miss what we had. I stopped walking. Stood under a street lamp, the yellow glow casting long shadows behind me. Why now? I asked. She hesitated, then admitted something I never expected to hear. I went on a date last week. Nice guy? On paper, perfect. But the whole time, I kept thinking, he didn't make me feel safe like you did. There it was again. Safe. Steady. Easy. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. I used to think that was love. Making myself small. Holding space for someone else until I disappeared into the background. She went quiet. But that wasn't love, I continued. That was survival. More silence. Then, softly, she said, I didn't see it then. I know, I said. Neither did I. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Slow. Measured. She asked, is there someone else? There's someone, I said. But more importantly, there's me. And for once, I meant it. Fully. After the call, I walked the rest of the way home under the winter stars. No music. No distractions. Just me and the sound of my own footsteps. Firm, unhurried. When I got inside, I picked up my guitar. Played a rough version of the song I had been working on. It was messy, off-key in places. But it was mine. Every note. Every word. No edits. No compromises. Just me, finally taking up space. Here is what I know now. Love is not silence. It is not shrinking. It is not setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Love, real love, starts where you stop disappearing. And I am done disappearing. I am full size now. And I am never folding myself down again.